Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Redesign Your Life today. I'm Daniel Kobryner, your host, and this podcast is about transformation. And today I have the immense pleasure to have a very special guest who is Joel Miller. And Joel built a business with his brother, something quite unique. And Joel, I would like you to tell us about who you are and what you are doing.
Yeah, so my twin brother Alan and I run the Sky Floor, it's called, and we do digital marketing, but really like as we're working into our 17th year of business, we're discovering that our real niche is solving problems for people and helping them get to their next outcome, their next goal, their next step. And so we've stayed lean. It's just the two of us, and we did that on purpose. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that here, but uh, we we'll basically do anything that we can to serve the client to get to that next step. So that might be building a website, running Google or Facebook ads, making billboards, tying these things into their CRM and tracking the ROI to make sure that it's returning, some investment return. And then sometimes it's even like with the dawn of AI, we're using that to help enable their sales teams by rating their sales calls based on things specific to that business. So almost if you could imagine it, we've probably attempted it. And if we haven't yet, we can try. And it's all about solving and serving the client though, and helping them get to that next step.
Okay, wow. And if I'm correct, you and your brother have built a $500,000 business
That's
and
right.
with,
Yeah.
with zero employees for 15 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, which kind of belief do you have to adopt just to do something which is like different from other people?
Sure. I mean, I think if if we kind of look at how most people build a marketing agency, the only way to scale that's sort of out there that people talk about is when you're going to hire people. You're
Mhm.
you're certainly going to hit some kind of ceiling for the time you have available, even though I don't never charge for your time because that's a bad
Mhm.
way to define value. But you're going to run out of time, resources. It's just the two of you. You have to hire people if you want to scale and grow. And we had to, when you're young, you sort of just wonder, is that the only way I can do it? And when am I going to have to do that? And I think as we were in the early years of our business, we were partnering with a lot of other agencies. They didn't have people to execute some of the stuff we could. So they would come and ask us, can you do this work for us?
Mhm.
We watched how they interacted with their clients and then also some of the struggles they had on their side. An economic downturn happens. You have to let people go, right? Uh, you are hiring people at a certain hourly wage and trying to turn a profit on their hours, and it turns out to just be, you're not selling your service anymore. Your product is really your employees' time and output, and they're billing by hour, and they're nickel and diming their clients, and they're hoping that they bill enough hours to make it worth it. And we were just looking at all of that going, I don't think this is for us. and 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 so I think, like, as we grew and matured and realized that we could define what success looks like for us, and then so the mindset shift was, maybe we don't have to hire people, and maybe we can still grow our revenue by producing value in different ways, repositioning what we're selling so that it's not a commodity. It's very goal oriented. Like I said, that's what we focus on, and so that's really shifted how we approach our work.
Wow. So this is very, very powerful. So if I understand properly, it's like providing value versus more activity. Is it
Right.
correct?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, like, I don't want to just make a website for you because that's what you think the next step for your business is. And a lot of people do that, but I think we'll get into the sales call, if you will, or the prospect call with someone. And if they're just like coming into it, they're kind of viewing it as a commodity. We need someone to execute this thing. We want to know why. why do you want this right now? Uh, why do you think this is the next step for your business? What goal or what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to achieve? A lot of times they don't know. They have a budget. Sometimes they don't even have a budget. They just want to know what it'll cost and see, can they make a budget for it? But if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, what are we going to do? Like, how are you going to measure what success looks like? What's going to be different in 5 years if we do this work or not? And then my ultimate favorite question in those calls is to say, why us? why do you think you should hire us? And, that you find out pretty quickly two things. You find out quickly if they just were referred and they're like, well, you're one of 5 I'm talking to because we're just going to price shop. All right, well, I'm not really interested in that kind of relationship. I want a partnership, not to be just deemed the most affordable option. And 2, they start selling themselves on you. When you start to ask, why me? And you dig into that, and they either have to determine that they don't know why they're talking to you, or that there's something discernible that makes you a little bit different than the other people they're talking to. And they'll tell you about it and convince themselves maybe that you're the right person for them.
And this is really beautiful. And it's, see, what you mentioned, it's about the why. I mean,
Right.
sense of purpose. I mean, you've been dealing with your brother with many businesses. Did you see a did you see a lot who didn't really have a sense of purpose in what they were doing?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we've come into many situations where something fundamentally changed in the business. So now they're struggling. I can think of one business that was selling like these supplement kind of drinks, like you get the powder and it's your all days organic vegetables and fruits, and it's good stuff. But they came to us because they were convinced that digital marketing would be cheaper, almost free,
Mhm.
and their business was declining. And so we get into this relationship with them and we start looking at the numbers and say, okay, well, and this was in our younger years, so like now I'd probably get to some of this stuff in the initial call, but they had no idea why their business was declining and why they knew they needed to do something. So we ask questions. We say, well, what happened? How did you used to do it? Where did your sales come from? And it's funny because the minute we start asking those questions, they identified, oh, we used to appear on TV once a week. They had this specific outlet that they
Mhm.
had a spot in, and that started to decline. And instead of replacing it with something similar, they just kind of let it fade off and thought we can replace it with digital and it'll be a one-to-one transfer. And we're like, well, you fundamentally changed your business model and how you get customers. If you didn't think that was going to affect the bottom line, I don't know. And so we're just like, we're so big on let's understand how your business actually operates if you don't yet, so that when we're making changes, we know what's working and what's not, and what how you got to where you are. Accidental success is great, uh, but if you don't understand how you've been successful, chances are the rug can be pulled right out from under you, and you'll never know what happened.
Yeah, again, it's so interesting because in a way, you are like a mirror to the people
Yes.
you are interviewing. It's basically you're just asking questions. I mean, and people need that, don't they? I mean, sometimes some people who bring them back to what do they do and why do they do that?
Yes. Never. I always say never assume, and don't be afraid to ask stupid questions, even if you think you know the answer. I mean, 9 times out of 10, because I'm been doing this long enough and I'm a pretty good read of people, I can surmise what the answer to a question will be. And a lot of times when they say something, I'm pretty right. But if you ask even a question that feels a little stupid, or you think you know the answer to, and then you let them sit with it, or you ask the right follow-up question. So this applies to business, it applies to relationships and people too. They'll reveal a detail that you didn't know before and basically give you the cheat sheet. Okay, oh, let's talk about that little thing that you just threw out there. That's going to be a key turning point. I can dive into that, and it's all because I asked a question where the answer seemed obvious. So like there's no, don't be afraid to have conversations and have them openly about anything. don't 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 go in with an agenda, but be curious, ask good questions. You never know what you're going to learn.
Absolutely. And it's about, obviously, in order to do that, you need to be vulnerable, just to be
Yes.
the way you are, really the authentic self. And uh, you mentioned a word before, Joel, which is so important for me, intuition.
Yes.
How has it served you and your brother in developing your business, intuition?
That's a great question. I think at some level, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and this I think it probably applies to, someone who stayed small, two people, or if you have 50 employees, right? Like if you can become a study of people, uh, and understand what makes them tick, what motivates them generally, and sort of hone that by looking at the people you interact with. And and I guess what I'm saying is there's a little bit of natural intuition, but it's a skill that can be grown as well.
Mhm.
You can It's going to be, again, I think cheat sheet is sort of the best terminology. Like, and I want to make it clear because I think maybe anyone who's in a relationship, I've been married for 17 years as well, and I think we all know that it's not, you shouldn't assume things, right? So even if you can test your intuition as well and get real facts back, but it's critical in making judgment calls about what is going to align with your definition of success, with your own goals. And
Mhm.
so if you lack intuition altogether and you can sense that, you can develop it. And I think it's critical to say, I need to sort these options in front of me, these people in front of me, these employees or potential employees, these clients, into, does this meet my goals, or is it going to be a step away from them?
Yes, absolutely. And so, see, when I listen to you, Joel, I think that when people have these conversations with you, in a way, it it reminds themselves of the idea of surround yourself by really good people. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of so that you have like spare, I think I'm French, so but you say in English like sparing partners to him. How
Right.
often do you think people think, oh wow, they really want to go further with you because they really like your human approach and your very, yeah, very gentle approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge part of our success is being personable, and I say this on potential client calls all the time, that we're interested in relationships and partnerships. We want to build something that lasts. We're on the same team together. We don't want a toxic relationship. We don't want to be adversarial. I don't want to work with someone. I don't, and this is actually a key language choice that I use. I want to work with you, not for you.
Mhm.
And so I think there's a lot there because at the end of the day, um, I mean, in my belief system anyway, I think the only thing that lasts that I interact with on a daily basis are the people, and the rest of this, I want to be successful. I want to reach my goals, but if my goals don't include people, I'm probably doing something wrong. That's the one time I would, if success does not include the people in your life being a critical part of it, I think you need to reorder what you think success is. I will not define it for you in any other way besides that. You can have success in any other way. But I mean, my I could book this giant project and fill up my retirement accounts. But guess what? At the end of the day, my kids would rather have my presence than my profits. So I would,
Oh, exactly. So it's actually if I understand properly, it's making people successful helps you make yourself successful.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Exactly. So it's a reordering, I think, of what actually our current culture tells us is important. I mean, and again, all the markers of typical success are great, and by all means, go for them. But have in the back of your mind, be driven by how it impacts the people in your life, and not as much just making you padding your pockets or getting that next status symbol or whatever it is. I mean, all those things are just gonna, in 100 years, the Lamborghini, I don't know, is gonna be, it'll probably be broken down, right? Like whatever you can do, it's gonna be. But there's a chance, in a solid chance, if you've invested in the people around you, that you will have impacted generations to come.
Again, very powerful for everyone listening. So, I mean, life is about uh, providing immense value
Right.
to people. I mean, to people and businesses. And this is real. And when you do it from your heart, this
Yeah.
is really where life flows.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't know, all of it's the only thing. I don't know. I think about my uncle um, passed away almost 5 years ago from brain cancer, and we don't have a huge extended family. And just thinking about, taking time at that point to go out and see him, and like, I don't even remember what projects took a back seat when during that time of life, right? And that makes sense because 5 years later, we're working with a lot of those same people, but we're on to new stuff. But I do remember taking those moments and saying, that can wait because I need to fly out here. I need to spend some time with a person who's not going to be here for too much longer. And I don't remember the other parts, but I remember that. And so does the rest of our family, who it's important that people were showing up for him.
Wow. So nice. And Joel, a question. Obviously, you work with your brother, with your twin brother. You've known his father, so well. How
Yeah.
how challenging it is, or what are the benefits for the clients to have two twins working together? I mean, and how do you kind of split the roles between each of you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always say, yeah, I think it's somewhere maybe on our website, but it's sort of like you get, it's two unique perspectives, but also there's a synergy to use a, maybe it's an old outdated buzzword now, but a buzzword, um, between us as well, where we don't, I mean, even just the other day, I was texting something back to him because we communicate throughout the day as we're working, of course. And he would basically said, not only was I about to say that same thing you just wrote, but I was going to use the exact same phrasing. And, I mean, we work together every day, but we're not in the same space anymore. We used to be, um, there's something kind of an efficiency that comes from that. All right, I know how he's thinking about something, how he's approaching about something. I can pick up a lot of times where he left off on some work, and
Mhm.
yet we see the world differently enough to challenge each other and see what the other person's missing. I mean, second to my wife, she's definitely first, but I would trust Alan to give me an outside perspective as close as he is to me,
Mhm.
to see that thing that I might look right by because I'm a little too close to the thought process. So it definitely helps us, I think,
Yeah.
to provide value.
And yeah, of course, it goes both ways as well. He would see new things as well, which, so
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes, it's like, all right, I don't, he's stuck or I'm stuck. If we get on a call, it's crazy how sometimes, and this maybe is true for lots of different people, but we have it built in automatically. It's like, and someone who knows the kind of stuff we do, you get into that conversation and you sometimes even answer your own questions. but you needed the pressure, the light pressure, but the pressure nonetheless of that interaction to surface that thing you hadn't thought of yet.
Okay. Now, this is very powerful. And do you have often meetings where you are on Zoom, the two of you with your clients? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes, what's funny is that we actually part our hair different ways.
Ah.
So, but then, Zoom mirrors it. So I'm not going to lie. Sometimes if we're all on a meeting together, I'll look at the little Zoom window and I'll see Alan, my twin, and I'll think I'm looking at myself for a second. And then I'm like, wait, I'm not doing that. Oh, that's not me. That's why.
This is really so nice. And if you don't mind sharing, because we talked about this little before, I mean, about your birth date.
Yes. So we are born on Leap Day, 1984. So if that doesn't immediately ring a bell to you, that's the day, February 29th, only comes every 4 years. And it's because there's fractions of seconds every day. And in order to have the calendar stay right with the sun rising and setting across the world, we have to add an extra day. and and so we were born on that day. And I think we did the math, and I think there's like 674-ish sets of identical leap day twins probably in the United States, and probably only something like 15,000 total in the world. And so
Wow.
it's very rare that you can only do that statistically, right? So we often joke we're likely the only leap day identical twins who run a digital marketing agency. And then we say, like, if you find another set, go ahead and hire them, probably because it's also super rare, and introduce us so we can have a little tiny 4-person convention.
Well, thank you very much for sharing because I mean, it's beautiful. And you said as well during the conversation that, for instance, in a downturn, this is really where you can see the power when everybody is scared. Can you tell us how do you help your clients when there's a downturn and they're all afraid of spending money and all that?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's often said that marketing is the first thing to go when budgets get tight, and it's true because I think there's like the default reaction is to get insular and say I already have clients and customers, and maybe we should just focus on serving them more, which isn't a bad notion, but we encourage people to think about it with an investing concept called dollar cost averaging. So that's the idea of buying uh, an equity, a stock, let's say, on a consistent interval, no matter what the market's doing. So you pick something you think is valuable, or just an
Mhm.
index fund, right? And once a month, I'm going to put $500 into it, and you do it whether it's up or down. It averages your cost because your average share price is going to be um, dispersed across all those price points. Well, I think you should do the same thing with marketing.
Mhm.
When there's a downturn, stick to it, or maybe even uh, up your spend a little bit, because just like in the stock market, if there's a value to be had, if prices are low, historically, it's probably a good time to buy more. And so when it comes to marketing in the downturn, that works because everyone else is pulling back. They're doing the thing they think you're supposed to do
Mhm.
and massaging that bottom line. But that means there's less people competing for the digital ad space. There's less, so you might get cheaper cost per click, for example, if that's your advertising method. And as people are retracting, if you can enter in, you're setting yourself up for the next upturn to actually grab a little bit more market share. And so I think it's the time, there's value there. There's opportunities to get to position yourself in a stronger way, because nothing ever goes up forever and it never goes down forever. It will come back.
Exactly, in cycles. Thank you for that. And actually, if you think of the period of the pandemic, when
Right.
everything was shut and people were shut, but some new businesses emerged, do you have some examples where you helped some companies really boom during that time because they had to rethink their business model?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll, if all of a sudden there's more constraints around how you operate,
Mhm.
you have to get creative, and then two, like, it took the reins off of some of these businesses that were they historically were an in-person service. So if it was possible to go online, that then you could meet now on Zoom, and people expected that. So one example I think of is the tutoring company where we work with. They
Mhm.
actually had once, like, everything was figured out, but students were home, and they actually saw an increase in that's lasted in digital tutoring, because all of a sudden you couldn't meet in person and the office didn't matter. And now anyone who's a potential tutoring client across the country can be your tutoring client. They don't have to come to the office. They're Chicago based mostly. I mean, they've had New York and Boston offices as well, but you don't have to rely on being nearby, because everywhere is a tutoring session. So I think there's being adaptable and flexible is the only way. I mean, you cannot be rigid in your thinking, or you will just get bowled over by those moments, or there's an opportunity.
Exactly. It's all, as you said, it's all about flexibility and just
Yes.
looking what can change. How can I thrive even in these difficult moments? I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic listening to you and Joel, if there were three tips really you could leave our audience with, particularly people looking really for a really good market, a good and personable marketing agency, what would it be? Or for people avoiding toxic relationship from some of these
Right.
marketing agencies. So however you want to phrase it.
Yeah. I think if you're three tips. So like the number one thing is going to be to make sure that you view it as a partnership. So if you're an agency and you have clients and you feel like they are holding a baton over your head and they're ready to swing it anytime, probably not a good long-term client for you. If you're a company that has an agency and you're waiting for you get nervous about every email that comes in because you're like, I have to deal with those people, might not be a good fit either for you, right? Like you want a relationship, a partnership, a collaborative spirit. You want that curiosity. I want to work with people who know I make mistakes and I can admit them without being scared. And the same thing from them, so that we're actually um, approaching these things together. Um, let's see, what was the exact phrasing of the
Yeah,
question?
it
I
was
want to
really
be good with
about
your,
three
yeah,
tips, really just
yeah,
for people to find the best marketing agency to work with, and to
right,
avoid pitfalls.
right. And I think the next one would be that look for look for that honesty. I mean, I'm going to build off of that last point, because we've come into so many situations where you have there everything is a spin, right? And sometimes it can be hard to know this. And I'm not suggesting that if someone, maybe they never have bad news to report or something that's not all up and to the right,
Mhm.
but it might be a warning sign if you never hear a little bit of some honest truth. Look, all these things went well, but this category didn't. That you might not be getting the full story. So I would say be aware of that. Look out for that. If everything is always positive, ask the right questions. Try to find something that they'll be honest with, and then say, this is what I'm looking for. You're not going to get fired just because everything didn't go 100% right, because that's called the human experience. And so look for that honesty. Then I would say finally that the third one, and I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but our favorite uh, joke is that we believe in no hostage relationships with our clients. So what does that mean? You shouldn't need a hostage negotiator to navigate your project at any point. We think that the client should own as much as they're comfortable with. And so I want to be using your ad account, not one that I set up for you and I use my card and charge you. I want to be using, if you don't mind owning the keys to your hosting for your website, you should have that so that you can leave me anytime you want. There shouldn't be a moment where something isn't going correctly and it's time to move on, or maybe it's going well, but you just want to try something else, that you as the client cannot just walk away. And we see that so much where all this proprietary stuff is set up and it's just this, the agency is trying to lock in the client. And I just think in 2026, there's a better way to operate. None of those things are necessary. Make sure that you own the keys to your kingdom, and then you have people, again, they should be partners. They shouldn't be, you're not holding that over them or saying, I'll walk away from you and I can. But you're looking for that trust. And I don't get scared with making sure that our clients hold all those things, because I don't need traditional lock-in to hold them hostage. They stay because they know who we are and what we offer.
Wow, this is very powerful, and it transpires, Joel, when our viewers listen to you. It's about kindness, it's about honesty, it's about transparency, it's about listening to people and really just making sure that you work together as human beings. You develop trust, you deliver on what you promise, and life is simple. So thank you so much,
You're welcome.
for all your inspiration. And when people want to connect with you and work with you, what's the best way, Joel, from
Yeah,
our
you can.
viewers?
Yeah. You can head to our website, which is theskyfloor.com. That's theskyfloor.com. I'm sure you'll put it in the notes.
Mhm.
And you can, there we have just some information about who we are. I post blogs at least once a week, sometimes more. I used to write one a day, but life is busy. And so you'll see some insights in what we're thinking about. And if you want to reach out and have a conversation, there's a handy little start button and a Calendly or a form, and I'd love to hear from you.
Well, again, thank you so much. And thank you for our viewers to be with us. And I hope you found this interview of interest, where there were a lot of nuggets. And it's really, yeah, it's business is about people. It's people.
Yes.
And, when you have someone like Joel, just reach out and just, have a conversation. And please, everybody listening, don't hesitate to pass on these podcast interviews to your friends, to families, because it's really it's inspirational. So again, thank you everyone for being with us today, and I will see you at the next episode. Bye bye.